We're doing it. Okay. We're good to go. Yes, sir. I think we got video. The formatting's a little weird, but what are you going to do? Nothing. All right. Let's get to today's talk. How about that? If you're in the Discord server, this is going to be voice chat text. If you're watching on YouTube later, then you done messed up. All right. Am I cutting out? Is it me? If it's me, let me know. Matt, if it's you, then we will also find out. But it's totally possible it could be me. Anyone else having difficulty hearing me, or is it cutting out? Any audio issues? Let me know in voice chat text. I think it was just mumbling. Yeah, it's possible. And then we will get started once I confirm. I sound beautiful. Thank you. My congested, allergy-ridden voice. All right, today's talk, investing versus trading. This is super important, I think, because at any given point, we all kind of get confused as to what we're doing. And this can happen in terms of long-term projections versus short-term goals. So this is something we always kind of want to be looking at. And I think using this simple concept, just this kind of psychological trick, if you will, for us to make sure that we're looking at it either through the investing lens or the trading lens and knowing why we're doing each or one or the other and why that's important really serves us well over the long run. So I wanted to talk a little bit. What got me thinking about this is several things. One is I've been watching a lot of people try to gauge what Bitcoin is going to do, because obviously Bitcoin determines so much of the market and really just has such a broad impact that people think, okay, well, if I follow what Bitcoin's doing, I can get a handle on what's going on there, then I should have some other insight into the market at large, which is true. It's totally true. But what I've noticed is people get fixated on these few $100s, even few $1,000 swings in Bitcoin. And if you got into cryptocurrency because you believe it is potentially something that's going to have a large impact on the world for any number of reasons, I think in the same way that if you're looking to enter like an altcoin and there's a difference of a few cents and you're not going to get that many more if you wait for the perfect entry, I think it's important to look like that. Look at things like that in terms of an investment. Yeah, you don't want to buy the top of something and then see it plummet down and have to wait for it to get back to even. And I think a lot of people are doing that in December and January when the market corrected back down to under 10,000, as low as 6,000. So it's important to obviously not make grievous mistakes in terms of, just obliterating your trading stack or your investment stack. But it's also important to look like if Bitcoin is $50,000 next year, $200,000 in a few years, $1 million in however many years, and you're worrying about what's it going to do in the next 6 months relative to a few $1,000s, it's not really beneficial for you or for your potential portfolio. So that's really important. So that was one thing that got me thinking about it, is seeing how much people were focusing on the price of Bitcoin and really trying to nail these almost on a daily, hourly basis. And a lot of this has to do with, and I know in this server we don't really do it because I don't do it, so I don't speak about it, which is leverage and margin trading. So basically using a very high multiplier for certain percentage gains. If you're longing or shorting Bitcoin, for instance, you can have very high gains to 100 times leverage. But if the price moves too much in whatever direction you're betting on against that, you get liquidated and you lose all your money. I don't do that here because I don't like to gamble with Bitcoin. I think there have been plenty of examples where I have an intuitive sense or a general sense of what Bitcoin's going to do, and it plays out wonderfully to my expectations. Usually I have some altcoin play there to kind of capitalize on that rather than shorting or longing Bitcoin in that instance. Okay, and so another thing I want to talk about that got me thinking about investing versus trading is who's determining the price. So how is the price being arrived at on, let's say, an exchange like Binance or Bitfinex or any of these places? What are the driving factors behind that? There's too many to count, so I don't want to go into the whole thing, but I think it's important to recognize when traders are in control of the general market and investors when they're in general control of the market. And these things oscillate, and it's not as clear cut as one or the other, but I think it's pretty easy to tell when we're having this level of choppiness, potentially what's going on. And we may say, oh, well, this is maybe, investors trying to keep the price low so they can accumulate, or traders knowing that people are going to pile on the longs when they see Bitcoin surge, or, pile up on the shorts if they see it plummeting. Those people are in there, and oftentimes it's not people, it's just algorithmic bots, shorten people out. And that's why we have these oscillations that we see that really just destroy people. They're so convinced it's going to do one thing or the other, whether it's following the general trend or counter trading, as a lot of people like to do. To me, it's really just a fool's errand to do that, unless you're very good at it. And there are some people who are really, really good at it. The vast majority of people have no fucking idea what they're doing, nor will they, even if they put in the man hours to do it, because it's just not really a realistic thing for most people to do. So those are two of the factors that got me thinking about investing versus trading. So now let's talk about what's behind either of those particular things. I think the biggest thing would be time frames. So how long, what's your time frame for looking at your particular trade and or investment? If it's on the shorter time period, we're talking about minutes, hours, days, maybe even multi-days, that's probably a trade. That's probably not an investment unless it serves some greater purpose to either stack, if you're channel trading, for instance, and note it has the word trade in it, channel trading to accumulate something that is an investment. So a lot of people were doing this with VE chain as it was surging back in November and December, is people wanted to, sell at the top, buy it back lower so they could add more to their overall investment. And a lot of this was related to nodes for VE chain specifically, but it could apply to anything where you want to pack a bag and you want X amount of number of something. So there is, there is a way to trade for investing. And I think a lot of people think they're doing that, but a lot of times they're just trading. So that's really important. If you don't have a goal associated with your particular investment, like I need X amount of these because I think this is going to happen, you're probably trading. And this trading isn't a bad thing to do. I just want to point out that the vast majority of us are not great at high frequency trading, period. So if you're looking at weeks to months to years, you're investing, and that's really important. So how would you know what to invest in a market that's as volatile as crypto, right? Like what are some of the hallmarks that would give you the confidence to put your money in something and just leave it there no matter what? A good example is Bitcoin. When I bought Bitcoin, I didn't really pay attention to it. Like the price went up, the price went down, but I didn't really care. It's just like, you know what? I'm going to hold this until it proves that it's going to do something. And then it did 5 years later. If I was obsessively looking like I have been with trading, you're going to hear Maceo in the back, my dog. Maceo, please be quiet. Please be quiet. If I was looking at it every single day over the course of those 5 years, it would have been really, really difficult for me to continue to hold. Like I would be like, oh my God, it's up so much. I could have sold it there and I could have had more if I bought it lower. Lo and behold, I just forgot about it, turned into a real traditional investment, and that was what worked out. Maceo, enough. I yell at my dog in between. He's probably going to still bark. So that's really important. Of course, Maceo, I don't want to have to go get you during this recording. Please. Jesus. All right. So getting back to this, what would give you the confidence to hold something for years? Fundamentals. This is why I don't mean to belittle technical analysis. It's actually quite useful in a lot of different ways. But to me, it's a fool's errand in the crypto space to be just focusing on technical analysis, looking at your indicators, your support, resistance level, your Guppy clouds, your Elliott waves, your Fibonacci levels, whatever it is. I think they're valuable in some respect, but really, like, we're trying to identify things that go up exponentially and parabolically, and you're not going to see that necessarily show up over some layer of technical analysis. If Maceo keeps barking, I'm going to have to go murder him. I don't want to. He's a sweet dog, but I can't take the barking. So, Maceo, that's enough. We have a cleaning lady here. I can't be that mad at him. So really, though, this is underpinning so much of what I'm talking about relating to investing, which is the fundamentals. This also, even if you're trading, gives you a much firmer grasp and platform to operate and to gauge your trades under if you know what the fuck you're holding. This is why a lot of these signal groups, a lot of these people, will look at Twitter, the same exact feed that I'm looking at, have absolutely no idea what to buy, or they buy something and they don't know what the hell it is and it dips a little bit. I mean, how many of the people in this server would have held storm after it went up from like the low 400s to the 700s and then immediately dipped back down. It would have kept some of it, but if there wasn't someone in here being like, don't sell this, there's literally no reason to sell this, it's going to keep going up, it'd be harder to gauge why you should hold on to something like this. Now, this also really is tied into two other things. This is one, research and doing your own research. Even if someone has been right every single time, you need to back that up with your own, because then you'll always have a question if you don't. And that's really important. And I think the people who don't do that truthfully make a terrible mistake and probably will end up burning themselves over the long run because they don't really know exactly what they're doing. Okay, and the other part of this is checking your emotions and reactions relative to your trades. Now, if you go in with an investor's mentality that, let's say I'm buying VE chain at $3, and I'm thinking in my head, you know what, in a few years, I really like to look at this company. I think it's going to be $50. I think it has a potential of $100. Am I going to freak out if this goes down to $1.50, or am I going to potentially have a plan to buy more because I think it's going to go up to $50? Seeing it drop shouldn't change my long-term view. Now, obviously, if there's some big, massive, catastrophic event that cripples a coin, you might want to reconsider your long-term investment. But for the most part, short-term turbulence in this space, and this is what I think a lot of people don't understand, is what we're seeing now in terms of like what people refer to as FUD, fear, uncertainty, doubt, mainstream media attacks, whatever it is, Bitcoin Cash, inside attacks, whatever it is, this shit is nothing. This is so easy breezy, hunky-dory compared to how it used to be for Bitcoin. People didn't know. A large group of people did not know if Bitcoin would work. Now there is a huge group of people who not only know that it will work, but are planning accordingly, and experience begins to bear it. It really does bear it out over time. And that's why you'll be sitting here, people who are listening and watching this, in mid-2018, we're looking back at 2020 and be like, holy shit, we were super prepared. We were like really prepared for this whole wave that was happening. And what's really screwing most people up is the resistance to either a new idea, a new currency, penetrating the veil in terms of not of some mystical analysis or sense, but just looking at like the hard factual information, math, anthropological impact of something like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. All of these things added up are why most people who have been doing this for a little bit are so bullish on this. To use a term I don't believe in, just we have a very strong sense it's going to succeed. And this confidence can be misconstrued as hubris or a lack of humility or just a kind of like false confidence, but you should be able to tell the difference. And that exists on both sides. And that's why it's important to always check our emotions and reactions relative to our investments and trades. If you are getting slammed emotionally and psychologically because you put more money in something, it's going up and down, and it should, and this and that, that's good. That's not, I'm sorry you have to go through that, but that gives you something to bounce your trades off of, and you may be like, oh, I thought I was investing in this. How many times I picked up like ICX and be like, this is my bag. I'm holding this. Or GVT, I'm holding this. This is my bag. And then I'll be like, you know what? I kind of like this other thing more. I'm going to sell it. So it wasn't an investment. I convinced myself it was an investment, and maybe it was a short-term investment if you want to call it that, but it really was just a trade. And that's super important to recognize. Like, your emotions can give you some insight in there. So rather than being like, oh, I got so freaked out and I panic sold or I did X, Y, and Z, you can use your emotions, your negative emotions, also as tools. Okay. Another thing that really helps in terms, and just to be clear, in case I haven't made this explicitly clear, I am an investor more than a trader. For me, that's because I'm a better investor than trader. The skills that line up in terms of holding something long-term and investing and reading the tea leaves in that sense, I'm way better at than trying to nail entries and exits over a short-term period of time. That's me. You might be a better trader than investor. There are people who could trade within a month or two and make way more money than I'll ever make in this, or just do better in general. And also, again, it's a level of stress management and how much you want to kind of put into that. Okay. Another thing that's really important when it comes to investing is community. Not only the community for the project you're investing in and what's going on relative to there, but people like in Cryptosync or anywhere else where you can bounce ideas off people and see what's going on and really just have some sense of like it's not just me coming up with these ideas. Are there other people who agree with what's going on? So let's talk about how this actually helped my decision to go all in on Storm over the past 2.5 weeks and tell everyone in the server for the most part that I'm going all in on Storm. And now, lo and behold, as Bitcoin is moving up and down, Storm is up still, right? It's one of the only things that's still green, amongst the sea of red, which is fine. The sea of red is nothing. It just everything went up so much. This isn't really red. You're looking at it in too short of a time frame if you think it's red. But one of the things that gave me confidence is I had been in Storm from before. I liked it. I understood, had done the fundamental research on it, was very confident in terms of, not getting stuck with a bag of shit, cough, cough, TRX. I thought it was going to be a worthy enough hold that I wouldn't get freaked out. Then I saw some other people. One is Crypto Ed NL, Netherlands. This is a really good trader out there, just a real straight shooter. Had some technical analysis that he used, that he supported, that he thought Storm was going to pop too. A few other people I saw who I really respect, who didn't put out any technical analysis, but said they had bags of Storm, lined up with my own independent research, my own intuition relating to Storm, and enough people I respect liked it. So that community was the clincher for me. I'm like, you know what? I'm not making this up. It's not, I am only seeing one thing. I'm not only looking at this chart or looking at the fundamentals and coming to my own conclusions because I want to believe. And yes, it could be confirmation bias for all of us, but it's certainly added another layer and a tool that I could look at to be like, okay, this is something I want to do. So, and when those types of things pay off, and they're not always going to pay off, it really does it highlights how important community can be. Excuse me. And then the last thing I want to talk about related to investing versus trading is perspective. And this has to do with all of this stuff that I mentioned before, whereas it encompasses it because your perspective on any given move you make, purchase, sell, whatever, is going to determine ultimately how you view it retrospectively and how you approach it going forward. Because if we want positive reinforcement, if we do if we take certain actions, run a certain protocol relative to our trading or whatever it is, investing, and it continues to bear fruit for us, and we're able to analyze why that potentially happened, we're going to continue to do that. And it's not like it's going to work forever, but we build these tools, and they're different for everyone. We stack these on top of each other until we can go and say our nice trading platitudes and aphorisms like, Warren Buffett, concentration for wealth, diversification for maintaining wealth, those types of things, which are, of course, a lot of those axioms are true, but until you actually experience them, it's quite difficult to really get the juice of what's going on. Buy blood, and the best time to buy is when there's blood in the streets. Buying your own blood, all of these things. Yeah, theoretically they all make sense, and you can do them in a limited fashion. But until you figure out, well, I'm really confident on this, and I know that this is going to bear out because I did my research and I have a community and I was gauging my emotions and who's in control. Is it the traders or is it the people who are investing? When all of those things line up, you can confidently make decisions. I want to make one more point about who's dictating the price. A great example is VE Chain. Now, you have to, again, this is why it's so important to look at and do your own research, is how do we think the VE Chain price is being arrived at right now on an exchange? So let's say Binance, the most volume. How is that price being determined? Who's determining that price? So we could say that, people who are buying VE Chain are determining the price. Well, of course, but who are those people? Are the serious investors continuing to stock up and accumulate? Probably. But are the majority of people in there going to be long-term, yearly, multi-year investors? My contention is no. My contention is we're seeing a lot of people trying to flip for Satoshis and dollar value over a promising coin with a relatively low risk. And those people, excuse me, probably don't have a great sense of what they're trading back and forth. Just to give an example of how this can work, if at the beginning of 2017, 16, let's say you were trading Ethereum for $9, let's say it went up to 20 and you sold it and you thought you doubled up, what would you be thinking now when Ethereum crashes from over $1,000 to $300 and you had a few thousand Ethereum, right? So it's really important to keep this in mind. If you can do your research, understand you end up with maybe 5 to 10 coins, decent sized bags that can go from $5, $10 to $100. and you have some degree of confidence that's going to happen, you're going to be fine. You don't even need that many of these. That's what's so crazy about this. So don't get shook out when, you know, Bitcoin's moving. Like, this is nothing, just to be clear. I just find it mind-boggling, and I think it's a good sign for those of us who can maintain some sense of equanimity in this space, that people are still getting so freaked out, but these, you know, not crazy moves. They shouldn't be freaking you out so much. That bodes well for us who can stay a little even-keeled about it. So yes, that is today's talk about investing versus trading. Are there any questions in the server? I will get to those now. Doesn't have to be related to today's talk. I got about 10, 15 minutes before my voice gives way. And this could be related to anything. It can be specific trade questions, general market dynamics. I don't know. The weather is like anything. And you'll put those in voice chat text. And then I did, you know, I gave out my my predictions. I think Bitcoin will hit 10 grand in April. Sue me if it doesn't. None of this is financial advice, obviously. And I think by the end of the spring, we'll probably see 15 grand. I'm really bullish, really confident in the general space. Just, you know, it's never looked this good, for lack of a better term. Like, it really does look like things are going to be pretty hunky-dory in a lot of different ways. So, you know, doesn't mean everything goes up forever. I would love to point that out. Things don't just go up and up and up and up. Maybe if you look at them over the long term, they do, but that's not how shit works. So don't get freaked out when you get a little bit go down. I see 2 people typing, Fritzy and Howard. Get your questions out. And one day I won't have like a congested voice, I'm sure. Looking forward. Yeah, good. I'm glad it's good info. I'm glad everyone will get better at this. And the best way to get better is essentially, you know, there's no 2 ways about it. It's just practice, like anything. And I was telling my friend who's basically tailing me, you know, like, you got to get burned, man. I remember getting burned in a substratum pump in December, and it was the worst feeling. Ugh, I felt so bad just getting caught knowing you were the sucker. Sold it, was so dismayed. Wasn't wrecked, but definitely lost a chunk. Then like 2 days later, it was higher than where I bought it. I'm like, oh God, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm an idiot. And I was still making money, which is what gave me a confidence that, oh, this maybe isn't, you have to be a genius to profit in this. I want to take my ICX holdings off Binance, but not sure where the safest place is. I understand they have a wallet. Have you any experience with this? Yeah, I mean, ICX, I don't know if their token swap is active right now. Their mainnet has launched. If you're going to use it, that's probably where I'd recommend putting it. I have not moved any ICX off exchange. You can always move it, you know, to an Ether address. It's an ERC20 token until it's not anymore, and you're good to go. So, you know, MetaMask, using my crypto, my Ether wallet. Make sure, we'll be talking about security later this week, but make sure you don't get caught in these DNS rerouting attempts. And if you hear my Ether wallet is hacked and they're redirecting DNS, you just don't do anything. You're good. Your stuff is not on my Ether wallet. It's just an address that can be opened with that. As long as you don't enter your private keys, you're good. And also, Fritzy, yes, did the Ven wallet ever? Yes, Ven wallet, when mainnet launches, should be June. I don't know, late June. That is, everyone's going to be doing a mass exodus and moving all of their VE chain over to the wallet when it's released. That's super exciting. I don't know what's going to happen with the price. We'll see where we're at, but only good things from there. I can promise you that. I mean, like, I work for the company. I can almost promise you that. Haven, Carnival, NAR. Haven Protocol. Go check it out. Google it. You can check it out on CoinMarketCap. Essentially a really tight, secure, anon coin, privacy coin that uses ring signatures. It looks pretty legit. A lot of things that people like about it. Low supply. Really nice wallet. Good GUI, graphical user interface. Just kind of one of those buzzy coins, and it's done really well for a lot of people. So I recommend investigating it. I'd be lying if I said I knew, like, this is the coin. It's going to blow up, but it's got a lot of potential, low market cap, trending up in a choppy environment, and privacy coins, right? If we were to look at 2 really big areas for this year and the next year, I'd go privacy and interoperability. Those would be the ones that I would take a look at. What exchange for Haven? Trade Ogre. Yep. That's where I get it. And then I send it right off into the wallet, just to be clear. I don't like leaving things on exchanges I don't know shit about that only have 3 coins with volume, being IPBC, Haven, and what's the other one? Masari. It's the only coins with real volume on Trade Ogre. So those are the only coins I'd be looking at there. Always check liquidity. So you want to be able to, you can move things if that's what you're planning to do. But if you're investing, I think, yeah, MetaMask is safe. All of these things are safe. Clydesdale, thanks for that question. They're all safe because they're your private keys and you're using them to unlock something. So unless you are compromised or enter your information somewhere that is compromised, you're good. Like, that's one of the pros of cryptocurrency. You're in control. That's also one of the cons of cryptocurrency. You're in control. So as long as you have like things like 2FA set up, you're careful about where you're navigating to, I recommend that everyone contact their phone company, especially for people like me who are not anonymous and feel comfortable using their name in this space. Contact your phone company and say, hey, do not allow anyone to make changes to this. Set up a PIN. Set up all of these things that are important for people, protecting your stuff. The easiest way to get hacked, and we'll talk about this on security, is social engineering. It's not the vulnerabilities of cryptocurrency. Those are rock fucking solid, but someone tricking you or tricking someone who has information related to you, that's the easiest way. So just if you nip that in the bud, you'll be fine. Nothing really to worry about. And always have like a backup plan for your family and friends and loved ones if anything happens to you, that they can get that. You mentioned IP, interplanetary broadcast. It's IPBC. As a pumper's paradise or something recently. Do you think it's a good investment long term? I don't think I mentioned it's a pumper's paradise. I remember saying that related to something, but I don't think it was IPBC. No, it's a YouTube, decentralized like YouTube, which could get more buzzy than that, but they apparently have a one-click after their rebranding. They're going to have a one-click port over from YouTube to their thing, which is pretty cool. It was Vibe. Yes, a pumper's paradise. Vibe. Yes, Vibe is just a coin that inevitably gets pumped up and down. So when it was low, I was like, all right, this looked pretty good. I don't think that trade worked out. I think I got a little bit of profit and moved out. That was a very short-term trade. So pumper's paradise, maybe, maybe not. What else? Haven't looked at DVRS, Diverse. Yeah, so Diverse there's a coin swap, something called Various. For every 1,000 Diverse, you get 1 Various. There's a Doge pairing. So whatever your Stake United balance is showing, if you're in Diverse, just recognize it's a lot lower than that. Go check out the Doge pairings for Various. Sell it for what you can get for it. I don't think it's going to be going back up. The thing I've learned about a lot of these staking coins, you can get in, get out, like we anticipated. You can do well. But it's mostly just really scammy. And this is something we'll talk about probably next week is, masternodes. I did some investigation on masternodes and proof of stake. I'm coming to the conclusion proof of work is still the only viable methodology I see for maintaining and securing a network in a fair and equitable way. So we'll get into that. It's a little more grand than just the day-to-day logistics of trading or month. Okay, that's it. Let's clip it here. We'll sign off. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.